guys, this is my documentary on photography. I'm joined by Julian. Julian,
Hello,
thanks
hi.
again.
Hi.
Thanks again for giving me this
No
opportunity
problem.
to interview you. So just tell us about yourself, from how humble beginnings and how you got into photography.
Okay, I suppose from a relatively young age, from when I was 13 or 14, I started looking at photographs and art in general. It wasn't something, I mean, I come from Weymouth in Dorset, and it wasn't something that a lot of my peer group were really kind of, they weren't interested in it. There wasn't a big art scene in somewhere like Weymouth in Dorset. But I had a couple of friends that were into art and photography. And while I was kind of living in Weymouth, my next door neighbour, who's still currently my best friend, who's a really well-known photographer, a fashion photographer called Ian McKell, we lived together, and then, well, we lived next to each other, and he did a whole project on Weymouth, which includes me and my girlfriend and going to festivals, but very much seaside work, people on the beach and things. And he turned me on to sort of black and white photographers of the time. And Britain had an awful lot of, sort of in the north, a lot of political black and white photographers that were shooting kind of shipyards and going around on buses, literally going around on buses and picking people up in the north and just taking photographs of them in a bus. And there were just loads of different photographers doing interesting things. And the Seaside Resort was definitely a place where photography was big, you know, photographing people on the beach, photographing people in amusement arcades, photographing nightclubs and things. So, I mean, I picked up on that, and then, but I wasn't really doing that much photography myself. I was just part of it. And then I moved to London, and all through punk and everything, I wasn't really doing much photography. And then there was New Romantics, and I was living with my mate Ian in London in a council flat, and he was just photographing all the time. But I really wasn't doing that. But I was learning a lot from him as I went on. And then by about 1981, 82, I thought, no, I've got to do, photography's the thing. I've got to do it. So I went to art college in Farnham, a college called West Surrey College of Art, which at the time was like the best college around. It really was. And we had like people like Martin Parr, who's like really famous as an English photographer, and he was teaching us. So as a visiting lecturer, and during that time, I really kind of got good at it. You know, I mean, my dad was a photographer in Weymouth as well, so that kind of helped. So I knew what the darkroom space was like. I knew how to work with chemicals and mixing things, and actually printing photographs. And then then when I went to college, I was doing it even more. But yeah, I suppose I got fairly good at it, you know. And then I did transvestites in London. So it's quite, I suppose in a sense, it was quite early to be doing transvestites, because like they're a really big thing now, you know. But in those days, it was quite a sort of isolated little niche of a thing. So I did a lot of gay clubs, I did a lot of transvestite clubs, I did a lot of wrestling, because wrestling was a really big thing in those days. I mean, I know wrestling's big now, but it wasn't like
WWE and all of that.
but in England it was really different. It was like sort of old women that used to really like it. My grandmother liked wrestling, and there was wrestling in little tiny town halls all around England and stuff. So I did a lot of that, and then I sort of contrasted the two. So I'd have like and it was called Real Men. When I left college, my degree show was like Real Men, and it was like basically juxtaposition pictures of wrestlers looking all sort of big, you know. But they were really, a lot of them were old men, really. I mean, they were all in their sort of 40s, but they were kind of like all, you know, buffed up in a sort of almost like glam rock, really. Do you know what I mean? They all had these sort of stupid uniforms. They looked like they were in a band like Sweet or Bowie-esque. I mean, it was really weird. But yeah, so I sort of contrasted those with the transvestites. So all these men dressed as women, then all these men dressed as sort of wrestlers, you know. And then from then on, I worked as an assistant for many years in London. I used to work for quite well-known photographers at the time. and there's people like Brian Griffin, and there's people like Colin Gray, and obviously my friend Ian was doing loads of fashion stuff, so we did that. So I was working for Italian Vogue and quite big magazines like the Face magazine at the time, and ID magazine, and then also what else were we doing? We were doing all sorts of stuff really, but lots of club stuff, always club stuff really. But essentially my big love that came from that was street photography. It's always been street photography. I always think street photography is in many ways the hardest thing to do. I mean, I know if you do kind of high level fashion, or you do really good landscapes, or you do great, you know, big photographic projects where you have massive prints on the wall, then that's very technical, that's something else. But the idea of shooting in the street and actually having the balls to kind of like get people to actually allow you to take their portrait in the street, or to actually confront people without them knowing and then shoot them really quickly but get a really amazingly composed picture, is incredibly difficult actually. So so it's a sort of amalgamation of photo documentary and I mean, for me the subject's really important. The subject can be really important, but I think that just the composition of the photograph is, for me, is really important. The idea that somebody could be smoking a cigarette on this side of the frame, there could be an angle of light on that side of the frame, there could be a baby in a pushchair at that side of the frame, and it all kind of works together, is the thing that I'm after. It's that sort of perfection of composition. Does that make sense? Yeah.
How many years have you been like in the photography field?
Well, I've been doing it since, so it'd be, I mean, I suppose you could say I really started about 1982.
1982.
So that's good, 40 years, 45
40 years. So you're a veteran.
I am a veteran of it, yeah. But I mean, so many of my friends, so many of my contemporaries are real veterans. I mean, their catalogue of work is phenomenal. I mean, I know a guy called, oh God, well, there's so many, but, you know, people just have such an amazing body of work, you know, like books of it. But then you just do it. You just do that thing. It's not about the money. It's not about being commercial. It's just a day-to-day thing that you do. I mean, I can't wake up in the morning without something on me. I mean, I tend to rely on the phone an awful lot these days rather than a professional camera. I mean, I still use a professional camera all the time. I mean, I'm doing a band shot next week, which would be insane if I didn't have like a whole set of equipment. But on a day-to-day basis, a lot of the time, rather than carry a camera, I'd rather shoot on the phone. I like using the phone. The phone's great, and I've got no problem with it. And I'm kind of known for using the phone anyway, you know.
Wait, so what was your first like proper camera?
Oh, my first proper camera was something called an Olympus OM1, and I still actually stand by that. I think it's the greatest, I mean, unless you've got like oceans of money, you know. I mean, funnily enough, I was at a funeral. My wife's father's funeral was on Friday, and the one thing that he actually had was a Leica M6 with like all the lenses and stuff. It's probably worth about £10,000, all of it. You know, and that's a proper camera. But I mean, I could never afford that. So for me, the best camera in the late 70s, early 80s was the Olympus OM1. And I think a lot of photographers would agree with that. It's really small, it was really simple, and it just did the job, you know. So my favourite street camera, really, yeah.
So you mentioned that your favourite photography is street photography. But one thing I've noticed about, because I went on your Instagram page, your photography is very like diverse.
Oh, like, it's incredibly eclectic.
With you, it's not just street photography.
No, it's bonkers eclectic. Like nature, I know.
I've noticed with other photographers on Instagram, they tend to stick to like one specific.
Yeah. But that does tend to be probably a lot of the photographers you're looking at on Instagram are really into it for because they're trying to make a living out of it. And I was watching something a couple of days ago about, what was it called, dialing down or something. So, you know, keep it really specific. You know, if you're going to do weddings, do weddings. If you're going to do portraiture, do portraiture. If you're going to do this, do that. I mean, if you're not interested in making money, particularly from it, and it's, you know, then you can afford to be diverse. But I don't mind being diverse, and it prevents me from being able to kind of go, oh, here's a body of work, and then people will accept it really quickly, and I might get a book out of it. People get a bit disturbed by the sheer weirdness of what I do. Do you know what I mean? The sheer complexity of what I do, because it's just I'm shooting everything I see, but I'm not trying to make money out of it, so it's okay, you know. And I kind of enjoy that, you know. I've got no problem with that, really.
But surely, because for a lot of people, especially in this society, money is like the motivation. So for you, what's the motivation for you to continue taking?
Because it's the sexiest thing you can possibly do. I mean, you can't be. It's really interesting film as well. The idea of being a filmmaker and being a photographer, they're so different. And you'd almost think, when you look at movies, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I don't like Marvel movies and I don't like special effects particularly. I prefer sort of drama.
So you agree with Martin Scorsese?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, real drama, real lovely lighting, no special effects particularly. Do you know what I mean? Just that real people doing real things. But they're so beautifully filmed, and you kind of go, oh my God, you know, look at that, the steady cam and the lighting and all of that. But it's so different to a still photo. A still photo is just this thing that exists in its own right that you either can challenge it or you can't challenge it. But once it's done, if it's good, it's really good. And then that takes you to a world that is very different to the world of the film. The film kind of tells you what it is. Doesn't matter how great, how arty the film is, it's still telling you this is this. Whereas the photograph is like, what the hell is that? You know, I've got to really look into that one little space and try and work out what's going on and what's happening. And you appreciate it as an object, you know, more like a painting, really, if that makes sense. So even though it comes from the world of film in a way, because you're using the same kind of equipment, you're still filming on the same cameras and you're still shooting stills on the same camera, it actually is more like a painting or a piece of art rather than a great long thing that goes on for an hour and a half. Sort of if that makes sense.
So I'm in a lot of photography forums, and this always comes up, the phrase gear doesn't matter. Now, one thing I noticed that you said that you use your phone. That camera over there, it's Sony A700. It was £1,000. Originally, I wasn't even going to get it because I basically fell myself in the whole gear thing. I was going to buy like a £3,000 camera because I thought, oh, in order to take cinematic, amazing photos, I need to get the best gear possible. I saw YouTubers using like Canon 5D Mark III, Sony A7 IV, but then it came across as somewhat delusional in my head, and I had to, you know, humble myself and then start small. With you using liking to use, you know, phone, how true is that statement in your opinion?
Okay, I mean, it's important to have. I think it's relatively important to have reasonable equipment if you're trying to do certain things. It's all about horses for courses. It's like what matters. The thing I've got the iPhone, the latest iPhone now, and I'm very, very aware from when I started doing phone stuff, just every single time another iPhone comes, and I only use iPhones, I don't use analog. Every time a new one comes out, the quality is just better and better in terms of the size. And if I was, okay, so this is important. So if you're kind of like doing an album cover, I do a fair few album covers and things. If you're doing an album cover, I mean, it's that big, isn't it? It's like, you know, that's your vinyl album. And then your CD album's that big. And then your promotional stuff on screen is really small. So none of that really matters. That it doesn't have to be fantastic because you're dealing with relatively small sizes, you know. Then you kind of have an exhibition, say. Then with a phone, I know that with this phone, I can go probably this big on the wall. Yeah? So that's kind of quite good enough for most people, really. It's just there's certain things you can do more with a camera. I actually think that the more expensive cameras now they're better for filming than actually stills. I mean, they're more like, you know, most people use like Canon 5D Mark IV, whatever. They use them for filming as much as they do, or probably more so than they do for actually shooting stills, you know. I mean, I actually do have a Canon 5D Mark IV, but that's because if people commission me to do things, they expect me to have it. But I will shoot that, and I'll also shoot on a phone. So, I mean, I did a record cover the other day, and the guy was going, oh, yeah, well, we want to have the 4 guys from the band standing at in a supermarket at checkouts, but we're all kind of like checking out our food and we're all looking in the same direction. Now that's actually really hard to do, because to get permission to do that's really hard to do. So if you go in there with a really big camera and do it, it's probably they're going to say no, or they're just going to stop you from doing it. But you can do it on a phone really quick, and you can get it really good. So I'll normally, on any commercial shoot, I'll normally take an expensive camera, and I'll use the phone, and I'll probably do 50-50 if I'm honest. Well, no, maybe not 50-50, but at least kind of 75 on the camera and 25 on the phone. Yeah.
What you said about, you know, the big camera in, like, because I went to Holland, Netherlands, and I had this a big camera everywhere, and everyone just started looking at me like I was, you know, crazy. But would you say on the opposite side, if you were to bring like your phone, would you say that some clients might underestimate you and say, oh, that doesn't really look professional?
Oh, for God's sake, of course, yeah. I mean, I used to work for this guy. We used to do a lot of corporate work with, and really high-level corporate work of company directors and things. And it wasn't just the camera equipment, it was the car he drove. I mean, you know, you couldn't drive into the car park in a dodgy car. You know, people expect this crap, you know. I don't buy into it at all, you know. But these people just don't understand that there is a particular look, you know. My eldest son is like what's called a creative, you know, whatever that is. I mean, I've never really got that, but he is a title. He's a creative, and you know, he has to look a particular way. He has to do things in a particular way, you know. It's really complicated, you know, the way you work. That's not the way that I work. So I tend to choose to work with people that, like the bands I work with, and the people are just sort of, they understand what I am, you know, because I'm not competing for big money, you know. So they're friends or they're associates, and they'll pay me as much as I need to get paid to do the thing for them, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I think people are starting to understand that you can use limited equipment, you can use phones. I think they do get that. I think, you know, people have made movies on phones now, haven't they, that are still being released. So I think people sort of are getting it, but they do expect you to look like you've got money, you know, you've got something that's special. But I find on the street, a lot of the time, that is actually it doesn't work so well. It doesn't mean anything. So having a 5D Mark IV, having a Fuji X1, whatever, it doesn't look, people don't care about that. Do you know what I mean? So in a sense, the phone's easier. But what people do care about, and this is one of the things that I find really funny, is if I take a Hasselblad, like my old Hasselblad, the film camera, which I still use, and I still shoot a little bit of film, not much, but I do shoot a little bit of film. I used to shoot film all the time. And then I stopped using film, I went completely digital, and now everyone loves film, don't they? It's like vinyl. It's like, look at the film. And you get all these YouTube things, and they're all like loading the film like it's... I mean, I used to load thousands of backs when I was assistant. I didn't even think about it. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, come on, give me... And now it's like everyone fetishizes about loading a roll of film in the back of a camera. I find it amazing, you know. And everyone, at one time it was like, why aren't you using film? You know, what's the matter with you? Well, sorry, why aren't you going digital? Why are you using film? And now, as soon as I'm all digital, it's like, oh God, film's so great, you know. And everywhere you go, you see people with these old vintage cameras just shooting film. But it's good luck on you. Do what you want, but it's really hard not seeing what you're shooting. I mean, that was always the biggest thing with digital, is that you actually see what you're shooting when you're shooting. I mean, the idea, and people go, oh, the magic of taking it home and not knowing what you've got, and then you go home and you go, oh no, it's a load of old shit, and I didn't know. Sorry. I'm not supposed to swear, am I?
Oh no, it's fine.
You can cut it out.
It's fine.
But you know, you just don't know, do you? So I like that ability to just see and correct. And even when I was shooting film, I'd always have a Polaroid back. So I'd shoot a Polaroid image first and peel it off and have a look for the lighting, and then put the film back on. So at least I'd have that ability to see. But there are times when film's really good, you know. But I just don't think people I don't think going out with a small camera, shooting film, black and white film, or shooting colour, whatever, but mainly black and white people do. I mean, I just don't see. I don't think they're really getting the reason that you would be using film now. The reason most people use film now is because it does have subtler qualities, especially in colour. If you're shooting in certain times of the day, you get better flesh tones, you get love. If you're shooting in a sunset or you're shooting at, that golden hour, the colours are much, much better on film than they are on digital. But most people that shoot film don't know that at all. They're just like doing it because it's like vinyl, It's got to shoot film. It's so pure, Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Well,
So I use film when it's really necessary, when I want those subtle colours and that beautiful thing, that you don't always get.
Yeah, I do really like film. One of the things that I really like is it gives that VHS, effect with all the grain.
Oh
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can get loads of effects on cameras. On digital cameras. I mean, on the Fuji X Pro, Christ, you've got about 5 different settings, 6 or 7 different film stock settings that give you those kind of colours or that kind of look.
So you mentioned that you shot in like nightclubs and all of those places. So with Pacific subjects, especially like in subjects, they might come across as shy or like introverted. Is there any methods or ways you use to make them feel more comfortable? Because I know in like certain photo shoots, it's stiff, and me being in a photo shoot myself, I sometimes feel a bit self-conscious because I want to look right on the camera.
Yeah. It's ever so hard because it's different for every situation. So, I'm also a psychiatric nurse. I've also done that to make a bit of money. And you do sort of kind of work out people and you work out what they're about. And when you get to my age, you kind of can read people a little bit, can't you? I don't know that I don't seem to come across a lot of people. Maybe because I shoot a lot of events. I'm always at events, so they tend to be people either dressed up or it's like Pride or it's always that people doing things. So people don't come across as too shy. But yeah, I tend to talk at people a lot. I almost bamboozle people with just talking a load of verbal diarrhea, really. I just go, oh, you look so good. It's like, and they kind of like don't allow them a space to kind of think beyond what I'm talking at them about. Do you know what I mean? Just move your head just a little bit, And they just sort of get lost in this madness of what I'm saying, and they tend to do what I want, and they don't start thinking about themselves too much. I don't just sort of stand back and go, well, I'm going to take a photograph now. Do you know what I mean? It's more like, no, I'll just touch you. Just put your chin there. And they just sort of get guided by what you do and bamboozled by what you do. It's just a sort of thing I do. And I talk all the time.
Yeah.
I go, oh, yeah, the setting's wrong. And it keeps them kind of interested. Yeah. They don't want to bugger off. They just sort of go, God, this man's absolute lunatic. Do you know what I mean? But it keeps them kind of fascinated. So they kind of go along with it, if that makes sense. So and then I'll quite often show them, oh, look, that one didn't quite work, but I can do this. Oh, look, we just need to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're including them in the process.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want to implement more, because I rarely talk to my subjects. I'll just take the picture, move it to location, take the picture. But yeah, I definitely, from hearing your point, I do believe that communication with your subjects, I think it kind of helps the relationship between the photographer. I believe it will help the relationship between the photographer.
Absolutely. Even if you're in a studio doing fashion, you just go, come on, what are we doing? Come on, just get on the ground, just do this, why not, and they just sort of like move with it,
So on the,
because it's being static, they just feel your subject in any situation, whether it's the street or a studio situation, they'll feel a little bit awkward. I mean, you get models that just know exactly what to do and they'll just do those things, the standard things. But if you're not shooting models, people just need to be cajoled. It's oh, come on, why don't you? Oh, throw your arm up, do this, do that. Half the time, it'll be rubbish, but eventually something will happen within that interaction that will make something happen that's worthwhile. And then you clock it. and then you make them do it again.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. One thing that I would say that photography has done for me is that it's allowed me to go out and explore more, because I used to stay at home all the time, not really go out, just play games, just generic.
Doesn't
things.
everybody of your age? I mean, my
Yeah.
son's constantly in the bedroom playing games.
But like
all the
with
time, but, yeah.
obviously advanced technologies, and people don't like to bring it up, but artificial intelligence, like how AI and how do you feel like AI and photography will?
Oh God, now
Yeah.
there's a biggie. I mean, I don't know. I mean, AI is AI.
Yeah.
I hate this government, because this government just wants to ban everything conceivable thing. People have that. I don't like that draconian sort of, we've got to ban things or we've got to stop it. It's also wrong. It's corrupt. But it will mess people's businesses out. It does mess people's lives out. I mean, within the world of fashion, it's bonkers. You can take models. You can just put people in situations. You really can. So there's no point in spending money to send fashion photographers to locations with models when you can do it through AI. So that is a problem. That is a big problem. But I'm not against it at the moment. You can't be against it. You can't ban something. It's like people you wanted to try to ban the internet. You can't do that. You can't get rid of something that actually exists. It's there. So just learn to live with it. And AI, you are going to have to learn to live with it. But it'll never be. I've seen really good ones. I mean, really good AI, like unbelievable. Like there was a whole kind of documentary set of AI images of sort of people in Glasgow from the 70s, and they just looked exactly like proper reportage photographers would have been had they been taken like that. But there's always something that it really doesn't matter how real they are, they're not real.
Yeah.
So when you have something that's not real, it's never ever going to be able to compete with something that's real, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's something.
Doesn't matter how clever it is, doesn't matter how good it is, the real stuff still has to exist. So it doesn't bother me, it doesn't threaten me. Really.
That's something that I really like about photography, is like going out and experiencing the world, the real interactions with people.
Exactly.
Moving, transport, all of that. With AI, it kind of just cheapens it out, if you know what I mean.
Well, if you're just sitting in a room creating things, but that's what it is. And it's got its own place. Do you know what I mean? It's got its own place. It's fine. It is what it is. I've got no problem with it. I would rather have a real photograph on my wall than I would an AI picture. I know that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So one of the things that Andrew taught us in our photograph in the city, and I don't know how to say this word right. It's called psychography. It's basically psychology and photography put together.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically. In a picture, in a photo, being able to identify iconography, what makes a photo really, really perfect. In your opinion, when people go on your Instagram, because when I went on your Instagram, all your photos looked amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Like, is there some just that wow factor, whether it's like story, composition, that if someone was to go on your page and look at your pictures, they were like, wow, this picture looks amazing, I want to print it.
See, one of the things that I should talk about is I just think that one of the most important things about photography, for me anyway, is that when it's really good, it's about the individual. So you can kind of do it with fashion. Yeah, Horst is brilliant. Loads of fashion photographers are really great, and they've got their own style, and that's a style. But I think with what I would call art photographers, or people that photograph real life, they're not employing models, or they're not employing sets that they've created or anything like that. I think when you start looking at really good stuff, you go, my God, I really am inside your head. I don't think I'm very good at that. I think my stuff's a little bit all over the place. But there's certain people, my favourite photographer when I first got into photography was Diane Arbus, and she still is my favourite photographer, really. And you just look at any portrait she did or anything she did, and you were just in here. You were in her head. Her head made those photos. And that's true art, you see. That's like a painter. you look at a great painter, it's like nobody else could have done that. Nobody else could have done that. And so when you get a body of work, you go, I recognise that person. So it ceases to be just a photograph. It becomes a photograph by somebody that you recognise. And the reason you recognise it is because you kind of understand where their head's at. Does that make sense? And that's really hard to do. That is really, really hard to do. To take pictures of everyday life and make it yours, make it your style. Because it's almost beyond a style. It's a way of thinking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
And that's what I think is truly sexy about it. If I'm really honest, I think that's the sexiest thing of the lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I could, honestly, people could fill this room full of photographs and go, you won't know who they are, and there may be photographs I've never seen before, but I could probably walk around and go, oh, that's by so-and-so, that's by so-and-so, that's by so-and-so.
So you're able to identify who...
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm good at that.
That's good. So in regards to like street photography, how do you deal with like the ethical side of...
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, when you've got the aggressive stuff, aggressive stuff's really bad as well. Because I didn't get into that. And there's certain places that I will not take photos anymore. I can't. Like, I live in Southend, and Southend Seafront is the most brutal place in the world. I've been to Detroit, I've been to New Orleans, I've photographed there, no problem at all. LA, no problem. I'll go anywhere, I'll photograph anything. Southend Seafront, the brutality of these people. I mean, honestly, oh, my kid's in the background, how dare you? Do you know what I mean? It's just bonkers. So it's really scary. So you got that sort of aggressive thing, which just seems really unfair, but you can't explain it. So there's a certain group of people that just photographs for them are, they're nice, and people should never photograph somebody else that they don't know. So that's really difficult. The ethical thing is kind of slightly different, because with those sort of people, I just want to go, well, sod you. Sod you. I'm on the street. I have a right. It's not illegal in this country. It is a bit in France, actually. In France, they say that you shouldn't do it, and probably this hideous conservative government, if they come in again, they'll probably ban it as well. They'll probably say you can't take photos on the street of people you don't know. But there's no photos of children anymore. Very, very hard to get photos of children. If you look back in the 40s and 50s, amazing photos of children playing in the streets and doing things. And now, if anyone even picks up a camera, oh, you're a paedophile or something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so what you're doing is you're creating a whole world, a history now, where you never see children doing things, and they're so photogenic and they're so cool and they look brilliant in photos, So that's hard. But ethically, I don't know. I don't. Have you ever heard of a guy called Bruce Gilden?
No, I don't know.
Bruce Gilden you should look at Bruce Gilden. Bruce Gilden's amazing. He's a New York street photographer, and his stuff is really relentlessly brutal. I mean, he uses a flash a lot. I like a flash as well. I love using the flash on the street. And it sort of brings out all the detail, and it makes people look quite disturbed. And it's just interesting. But he's got that real sort of hard-ass New York attitude where he doesn't give a damn about what people... It's like, I'm taking a photo and that's it. This is... He doesn't even say I'm creating art. He's just going, this is what I do and I'm going to do it. I don't know what the ethical position is on it, because as soon as you start getting too ethical, it stops you from doing the things you want to do. Yeah. So I think I will try and be as kind as I can, if that makes sense. So in terms of an ethical point of view, if I shoot somebody, if I can get away with it and I can walk past them and they don't even notice it, or they're not rising to it, then I'll just carry on walking. If somebody goes, oh, what did you do that for? Why did you do that? I'll try and talk to them and go, look, I had to take it like that because I wouldn't have got the image if I'd have asked you, or if I'd have done anything. Here's the image. Do you like it? If you want a copy of it, that's fine. I just want you to be happy with it. If it's a particularly brilliant image, not that they always are, but if it's a particularly good image and they go, no, I don't like it, I want you to delete it, I'll go, no, I'm not going to delete it. I really like it, I'm going to keep it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And if that makes me a bad person, I don't really care, because what I'm doing is probably more important than you just walking down the street moaning.
Mm.
Does that make sense? I haven't taken your soul. We've gone beyond this idea that we're some ancient tribes where people come in with a camera and it's like, oh, they've taken my soul. No, I haven't taken your soul, and I'm not trying to look at your child. I've just taken an interesting photo.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with some people on street photography, it's like you kind of have to hold back because you want to respect people, but at the same time, that picture, like, if I had the opportunity, because it looks great in my viewfinder, I want to take it, but I'm not sure because I just don't want to get, an issue with you. But yeah, you
have to be mildly aggressive, and you have to be a little bit hard. You really do. I mean, Christ, you're not bombing people. You're not attacking them. You're just taking a picture. It's just a picture. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of weird. And this idea that, I mean, most of the reason that people don't like pictures of themselves is more, the biggest one is children. The biggest one is children. They seem to have an obsession with children. And they seem to have this obsession that because they've got children with them and you've taken a photo, that they own those children and that you're not allowed to have any part of those children whatsoever, even if it's just a photograph. Does that make sense? Yeah. But we've got to this weird place, haven't we? We've got this weird place. I mean, I don't know, there's some sort of famous people I've been looking at recently. And they've just one of them just had a baby, and there's a sort of everything that's on Facebook or everything that's on the internet, they've got a sticker over the baby's face. It's like, well, okay, that's fine, but it's just a baby. I mean, what? So that baby's face, who's going to know anything about that baby, or who's going to actually recognise that baby? What difference does it make if the baby's face is there and you're holding your baby? I just don't get it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It hasn't got like a massive birthmark here that, oh, we know that's a famous person's baby. We could steal it, or we could hold it for ransom. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's weird. But we've got this problem with imagery. And I fully get that people probably think, oh, I look really ugly on the street, or I was in a bad mood, because sometimes half the time street photography is brilliant because people are highly emotive. Like they might be screaming at somebody, you'll go, oh, what a great shot, their mouth's wide open. It's not very nice. Do you know what I mean? You've taken a picture of somebody with an angry face or something. But I'm just as likely to take a picture with somebody that I think looks absolutely beautiful. So if I see somebody looking beautiful, I'm going to take a picture. If I see somebody looking extremely angry and but it's really visually interesting, I'll take that as well. So do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm deliberately looking for ugliness or anything. I'm just looking for things that are interesting. But I get that. And if somebody takes a picture of me on the street, and I've had a few people take it, I don't like it, but I'm not going to make a fuss about it. I'd be hypocritical if I did, wouldn't it?
What would you say is the most favourite photo you've ever taken?
Of mine?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's really hard. No, that's
You're
really...
so ready.
That's really, really, really hard. I mean, I don't really think like that.
Wow.
I really don't. I mean, there's a lot I like. There's ever such a lot I like that I think are probably in the higher echelons of what I've taken, but I don't really have a favourite. Yeah. I really haven't got a favourite. Can't do that. I've got favourites by other photographers that I like, but I can't. I can't do that. I just can't do that. I'm sorry. No.
All right. So the final question: if someone was to come to you and say, Julian, I want to start photography, they're a complete beginner newbie, what advice would you give them?
Okay, it's really complicated. I buy something that's relatively simple to use, but has capabilities. So buy a camera of some sort. Doesn't matter whether it's a phone, but buy something that can give you a good image. That will give you a good image. So don't buy a plastic disposable or something, but buy something halfway decent. Learn to use it a little bit. Learn the three things that are the most important things of the lot, which is, in terms of equipment, exposure. So learn about your shutter speed. That's a fast one, 15th of a second. That's a fast one, like 200th of a second. This is a slow one, 15th of a second. Learn about your aperture, how big and small the aperture is, and learn about your ISO. Learn about the film how the light hits the film, and just get out there and shoot as much as you possibly can, and just shoot things that you like, and continue shooting things you like. You know, like just find something you really like, and just keep doing it until you're happy with it. Oh, and the other thing is just look at other people's work. You'll never. I don't believe in this thing that people get influenced by. Ooh, you shouldn't look at too many other people's work because you'll get influenced by it, and it won't be you. That's bollocks. You just watch. It's like if you want to be a filmmaker, just watch as much Kubrick and Scorsese and anybody. Watch great filmmakers, and the same with photography. Just look at other photographers, but and good photographers. Try and find people that are really interesting. Just go in a bookshop, go in a photographer's gallery, just pull out books. They're not going to tell you off, and just go through them if you can't afford them.
Yeah, I actually plan on going to photographer's gallery soon. I've never been, but it's definitely one of my places I want to go. To just
yeah. I don't know when I don't know. There's an exhibition at the Saatchi Gallery at the moment, but I don't know when it finishes. It might finish this week, but that's enough to kind of half kill you. That is, because that's Bukowski. He's a guy that shoots sort of like the modern world, polluted places and things like that. But they're all like from above, and they're huge. I mean, they're literally huge. They're like from the floor to the ceiling. And you just every bit of detail. But he uses very specialist cameras and stuff. But it is fascinating. There's some great shows. Always go to shows. Yeah, if you can,
Definitely a lot of events that I haven't really been to that many events. I think the only ones are like Madame Tussauds in like central London. Events hasn't really been things that I've ever been to. I don't know why, but that's definitely something I wanna.
Oh, you should, yeah. I mean, you must go to sort of clubs and festivals and sort of.
Not even festivals.
No, I've never been. You really should.
I want to start. Yeah.
Just go anywhere where there's lots of people. It's fun because people are always interested and they'll always do things. And most of the time, if you go to festivals and things where people are enjoying themselves, they're really quite up for being photographed. Really.
Yeah. That's something I really want to do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
No worries.
I had a very great time.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.